photo, Jeff?
You look a little surprised.
It's all no.
Nobody told me it was picture day.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a horrible photo, but I'm gonna go with it.
Got a little bit of West End 80s going on.
I am Jason Stump. I'm gonna look at you in an angle, the glamour shot photo.
Well, that was literally the Glamour Shot booth, Dealer Raiders Glamour Shot booth at NADA a couple years ago. So it's exactly what that was. And I'm milking that free headshot for all it's worth in everything I do. There's another version of it is my Clubhouse profile. That was the same shoot. Yeah. Yeah, I've got multiple angles.
Well, the one where you're like,
yeah. That's my more casual headshot when I want to show that I'm playful and delightful.
Gotcha.
I go with the shrug.
You need one for the serious look.
No, I don't have one of those. I have 4 kids. I do not have time to be serious about anything.
Jeez. How old are the 4?
9, 7, 5, and 2.
So we got 3 at my house now. The 11, 4, and barely 3 months. So.
Oh wow! Well, congrats.
I don't
Nice.
totally feel your pain all the way, but 75% of it.
Yeah, yeah. Just just have a 4th whenever you're ready. It's fine. Because that's
What does it matter at this point?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's what people with 4 kids tell people with 3 kids, because they're like, oh, once you have 3, 4 is fine. But I'm telling you, it's a lie that parents with 4 kids tell the parents with 3 kids, because it's not fine.
They just want them to join the club.
Exactly. We want company with our misery. I mean,
We just want you guys to screw up more than we already have. Is the point there?
Right. We just don't want to be alone. Right, Darren?
I can speak from experience. It will, it is not just fine. You're talking about one more college, one more wedding,
Yeah.
one more kid that could potentially move back in at some point down the line. Like,
True.
not just okay.
You know,
to throw
this
in.
sounds like qualities I want in a good salesperson.
If I'd have got if I would have gotten started earlier, I'd had 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah, you would have had like 10.
Jeff, I didn't get started until I was 37, man. It's never too late. It's going to be 60 by the time the last one graduates high school.
All right,
Tell
3
the wife
seconds,
that.
guys. And boom.
That was scary. What's that sound?
Is it a creaky
little
door?
loud.
You gotta go back and ask Aaron Barton, who made
guy
that
did
for
it,
us,
yeah.
what that noise is.
Oh my God, it like freaked me out.
You're okay, Jason.
Especially you got your
I'm
headphones.
going to
turned
say,
way up.
I'm with friends. I know. We're in a safe spot right now.
So welcome to Refresh Friday, everybody. I think Jason, this is your first time.
First time in a long time.
Yeah,
I was
he's
on
been on
like
before.
3 years ago with Jeff and Chris K. Leslie and some other people before you were back in the mix. But my first time with you, Alex. So I'm pumped up, man.
Well, that's the only kind that matters towards earning your gold jacket, which Darren is earning today, I believe.
I do. I get the jacket with the little emblem today. It's I think this is like 5th one or something like that. So I don't know what the criteria is, but I should definitely get some sort of smoking jacket or something.
When the full beard is there.
We had hats made. Whatever happened to those?
No, we never had hats made.
I swear you ordered them.
Nope.
Went through the design process and everything. I thought you clicked the order button.
Nope.
I thought you'd just been sitting on
cheaped
them
out
for the
the
last
last
8
minute.
months.
Is that little conversation
about
there? Is that going to tie into what we're here to talk about today? It feels like there's that's an analogy.
What about the stickers? You had stickers
Oh,
made
we do
too.
have stickers. Yes. Yep.
Thanks for
So
sending
anyway,
it.
moving on. Jessica, good to see you again.
What's up, Jessica?
This is going to be the whole time. It's just going to
Yep,
be
yep.
me
I'll
trying to
just
talk
deflect to you.
in between 4 dudes. It's gonna
Yep.
be great.
Yeah, so I think everyone's here because they're thoroughly in love with Vroom, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love her.
Yep. Maybe
We'll have to take
Carvana
them
too.
down.
Go there already? No? Okay.
I don't have any issues with them. The part that pisses me off about Vroom is every time I do a search across any marketplace, including Facebook Marketplace, like all their cars show up in my backyard. And there's no Vroom dealership around here. And then so I start doing a little bit of detective work. They're using the local outlet, the mall outlet address as their dealership. There's no cars out there. Somehow maybe they've got maybe they're leasing like a small room or a retail place or something like that. But they're non-existent out there, but they use that as their address of business. So I guess so they can put all their inventory on the marketplace sites.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be like, it's like 50 Benz and none of our cars will show up. I mean, they'll show up, but it takes a while to find them.
I've
Yeah, that's
seen
really
some of
interesting.
their-
Silence.
I've seen some of their license plates in the office area we're in here. There's a Starbucks. And I've seen a few of their cars that don't look like they're being driven, just sitting out there.
Well, I've seen them use Starbucks addresses as well.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm pretty sure. So I guess, I don't know, they build some type of relationship with, a particular business or the outlet, because typically it's like, a handful of those companies own all those malls and outlets. And they have some type of contract or I don't know. Maybe they're just saying that's where they are, and that's really not where they are.
Maybe they're just digital squatters.
That's what that's exactly.
Who knows? But Jeff, I did want to ask you this. I know it's your show, but sometimes there's a host in me that can't help but come out. The Super Bowl commercial that Vroom ran, like you still being in the car dealership. I mean, obviously, being in the industry and having like deep ties to the industry, I was like kind of like fired up. What was your take on it with that Super Bowl commercial that they ran?
Honestly, I think we've seen that so many times by many companies. There's been quite a few companies do commercials like that, even during the Super Bowl. I guess maybe I don't want to say immune to it, but it sort of falls on deaf ears for me. Someone started a conversation over the forums around. They're just like, what can we do about this? I'm like, well, there's probably nothing you can do about it. Maybe take it as some constructive criticism, because they're just pointing out, they're not pointing to people at the car dealership. They're just pointing to the pain processes that happen at the dealership that most people, I guess, to some degree are familiar with. I don't pay attention to them anymore. And I wonder if the consumer really does. I guess maybe they do to some point. But then, of course, if you jump in some of the different forums out there, you start seeing that, they're really no threat. They've got horrible reviews, people just complaining left and right about their customer experience. I was reading something where someone, I guess, sold them their car. They were waiting 2 or 3 weeks to get their money for the car. And then 2 or 3 other people jumped on. It's like, yeah, me too. We've been waiting 3 or 4 weeks. So I guess it's sort of a moot point for me, just because I've seen it happen so many times, and it really doesn't have much of an impact at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jeff. Listen, they're not going to go away, regardless of their digital marketing approach and whether they're trying to encroach in third-party marketplaces or agencies that are supporting their message, or even other companies that haven't even come to fruition yet in the retail marketplace. Picking on the car buying experience is nothing new, right? Like that is not unique. I think it's interesting that they went as overt as they did, especially at a time when we're all kind of trying to get through a pandemic, and they've chosen to pick on one of the most vital and essential local retailing outlets that we've got in every market. And that's what fires me up, right? Like you say that they're not really picking on the people at the dealership, but in a way they are, because if you think about how many hundreds of people are employed at a local dealership and the families that they support and the income that provides that. And, you know, I've known you guys and countless other friends in the automotive industry that are working tirelessly every single day to run a successful business, and you're involved in your local charities within the communities that you're in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think it's in bad form that, sure, it's fun to poke fun at, but I think gone are the days of plaid jackets and bad hair pieces and backroom deals. And, you know, I just think that message is tired. And what I was fired up about talking with you guys today is, okay, look, the stereotype we can't do anything about, poor form about picking on that in the advertising message. Okay, fine. But what can we do to share a message with our partners in the space so that they also don't just shrug and just go back to work doing exactly the same thing that they've been doing for the last 10 years? Like, there is a way to get on offense and capitalize on things like this. And there are a lot of dealers that are doing it. And I think if we all started to do some simple, common basic things, the experience would be better for everybody.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Darren, it's like it's easy to bash Vroom. I mean, we could sit here and do that all day long. Jeff, like you said, they got terrible reviews. They've had their accreditation revoked by the BBB. But when you pull back the curtain, it's like they're the Wizard of Oz, man. It's just this shriveled up old man hiding behind a curtain, trying to protect what's theirs. That curtain being, you know, their marketing message. But really, they're just as much as a car dealership as anyone else is a car dealership. They just talk about themselves differently. But what you said, Jeff, like about how it's like, oh, whatever, it's just noise, and I can appreciate that. But that's kind of what scares me, is because it's easy knowing what we know, right? What we know in the industry about them. They're really easy to dismiss. Say they're just wannabe disruptors, just trying to play this game. But then when you think that they've got like $2.5 billion valuation and they've got all this money tied up in that, there's people out there who think this is a legitimate business. And like that marketing message is resonating with consumers. So to outright dismiss them, probably not a good idea, because it doesn't matter what we think, but just the idea that's resonating with people in the pandemic world we live in is that buying a car online and having it delivered is neat. And if people think that, then isn't that something we might want to be able to offer and really get serious about that approach in our overall process, not through a tool per se, but just modernizing the way we retail cars.
Well, maybe I'm jumping conversation, but I mean, what can dealerships really do? I mean, it sounds like you guys.
Before we go there, Jeff,
go ahead, Alex.
Can we? Because Jason hit on a good point, a $2.5 billion valuation. How many cars are they selling a year right now? Do we know?
At least 7.
Is it more than Lithia or Group 1 or where do these valuations come from?
I don't think they've watched Shark Tank, because it doesn't really work like that.
It was the same evaluation that was put into GameStop, Alex. So that's exactly the same criteria that they use. But no, it doesn't make sense, right? Literally, the investors are betting on the premise that the model that exists today is going to fall apart because it is so perceived to be anti-consumer friendly. And this way of doing a frictionless, bring me the car to my house type of thing sure sounds good. Now, what we know in this industry is that the lead goes to a BDC that sends us a centralized place, and people get on the phone and literally walk you through scripted talk tracks that the 5 of us used back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Still
Literally still works, but it is not. It's not anything that any of our partners in the space, any local retailer couldn't do themselves, aren't doing themselves in some capacity. So I do like your question, Jeff, like, how do we get there? And like, what can we tell a dealer to do? I think it's, we're starting to see this a bit in the advertising messaging. And I'm not here to tell dealers what to do with their advertising dollars, but if there's anything that this whole pandemic and COVID has taught us, is that maybe the noise of best offer, discounted price, we have more inventory, we're the largest, all of that as a bucket doesn't resonate nearly as much about here's the different process that we can offer for you, and advertising about the ease of which we can do business for our consumers, both for sales and service. And I think that's what Vroom and Carvana are doing. Their advertising is not about a deal. It is not about saving money. It's not about a monthly payment at all. It is all about messaging around the process.
They're just missing adding in like those local people, right? So like people are going to buy that whole saying, people buy who they like, blah, blah, blah kind of stuff. But like, I think about like near me, and there's dealerships who are trying to say that you can do the whole process online, and the person doing the advertising is a quarterback in the NFL. Like, I'm not buying a car from Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, who actually is the one helping me go from start to finish online? And that's what Carvana and Vroom are able to say, is they're going to do the whole thing. You can do it all from your phone. It's going to show up at your doorstep. Your neighbor's going to be jealous and take pictures of you and all of that. But as we can see from reviews, it's not exactly how it happens.
Right. So
I like Chris's question there.
The air coming out of the balloon.
Yes. Yeah.
Chris K. Leslie, do we think Vroom's message is resonating?
Yeah.
Anecdotally, I think it does. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, we can have everything delivered today. I just ordered a crave case of White Castles to be delivered to the house because Fat Kid needs to eat. So if I can get White Castles delivered to my house, and if somebody can tell me they can deliver a car to my house, yeah, and save me time and save me hassle, of course that's going to resonate. We see that too, though, on our own, and Darren alluded to it. With a lot of the video advertising we run for our clients, is that we've seen lately, since like the middle of COVID started, from where we are right now, is that those experience-based messages have gotten more engagement, more click-throughs, more action than the offer-based ads that have been running. So, so from anecdotally and from that, I think that definitely resonates. And, it's something worth considering. I think we all, just in general, if we just want to put on our rainbows and puppy dog kisses, we all just want to have easier experiences. We were talking before we got on the air about how many kids we all have, and we all have a lot going on. And I think anytime you could just make something that's perceived difficult easy or easier, it's going to lead to A, more profitability, and B, it's going to lead to better CSI.
Yeah. I would offer this, I think we're all, when you think about like what a dealer can do, I don't know that the message is resonating or not, right? But I know what our colleagues in the space are fast to make an assumption of what it means to compete, because we do this all the time. Like, this is what we hear from most of our large client partners, the top 10 dealer groups that we work with around the country, and their investment to try to create an ancillary competitive lane for a Carvana or a Vroom or those types of things, right? And everybody's quick to say, hey, it's all about giving the consumer the ability to do the entire transaction online. And I just want to kind of level set with anybody that's on this call. It is not about creating a process whereby you can deliver every single car to somebody's house. We just actually participated in a study that JD Power did they analyzed data over the last 6 months. And pre-COVID, it was like sub 5% of all transactions were being done soup to nuts, where we were delivering the car to the home or the office. And now today, like through January, it's still less than 20%. So think about that. It would be ignorant of me to say to a dealer, you've got to change your entire business model to accommodate for less than 20% of your consumers. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Right. So we know that still the vast majority of consumers want to come into the dealership. They want to touch the car, make sure that they're validating that the offer that they're getting is exactly the same. That whole lack of trust component, like all that is still real. But at the same time, in the same survey, like 90+% of consumers actually say, but they don't want to come into the dealership because they don't like the process. So therein lies the opportunity for us to try to improve what happens if and when they do come in. So anyway, a bit of a diatribe, so please bear with me. But I think the thing that is, like, we keep bringing it up in all these calls, and my God, am I sick of talking about it, is the phrase digital retailing, right? Like, if I have to sit, I run them. If I have to sit on one more digital retailing webinar, I'm going to throw up. Yep. Right? And there's no, and we've done it. It's like, so let's put this to rest. There is no such thing as digital retailing. I don't even know what that means anymore. There's just retailing. There's just a way to help customers buy cars Now you got to do most of that online and in the store, and it should be the same process in both places. And you've got to try to connect those dots. But like software by itself, whether it's us or Roadster or anybody's tool, if you just turn that on in the store, that is not going to solve the problem at all. You've got to have process that marries up with the technology in order to make a real impact. Personal story on our side at DI, digital retailing has been a frustrating thing for us over the years. Like in 2016, we initially came out with Online Shopper and we said, online buying is here. And we had all these tools that could help the customer connect in real time and do the entire deal online. And nobody used it. Like we were way too early. Like no one the whole thing, except like some poor internet manager sitting in the corner.
We were actually, and I know Joe Chura was in it too, the fall PASH event. It was interesting because a number of the digital retailing companies out there actually gave the numbers. They said, like it sounded like it was less than 6% of consumers actually finished the process. And,
Right.
and most of the time that was because the dealer was holding their hand and telling them to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's 0% that are organically doing the process by themselves. I've even talked about this on previous sessions with you guys. Like even if you're credit challenged, like who thinks it's a great idea to give your social security number to a car dealer without talking to somebody first?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to click the buy now button before I've got a price.
Right. Well, I mean, like unveil the air out of the balloon to part of the comment earlier. Every single Vroom and Carvana transaction is guided by the person at the BDC, where they get on the phone. They say, "Hey, Jeff, thanks for your inquiry. Now let me walk you back through the site to fill out your full credit application and take you the rest of the way." They hold their hand through that digital experience, but it's all done over the phone. Yep. So, like I said, just kind of going back in 16, we did this. And then as it evolved, we saw that in our numbers, like less than 1% of the shoppers went end-to-end online through the whole thing. But we saw great success because there was a 3x increase in leads. And the quality of those leads were much better because the consumer finally had tools where they could tell you exactly what they wanted, what their trade-in was, the payment they were trying to get to. Like if you had a process in store, these leads were like super leads and they were super easy to convert. But that's the disconnect, because the shoppers felt like they were doing this thing online. They have this tool, still the same problem. That's the real problem that's going on today. We have tools online that give the perception that the consumer can navigate and control the experience. And then that lead gets submitted, goes into the CRM or said BDC, and then the age-old process comes roaring back to hit them in the face. Email follow-up, followed by a phone call, and then another phone call. Even though in the message you said, please text me, that's the only way I want to talk to you. Nope, we ignore all that. And you got a whole email barrage coming out of the CRM of like process follow-up thing. It's just nonsensical. So like I said, what we've done and the advice we want to share with everybody today is, I think, the ability to navigate the consumer through this process is to understand that there is such a thing. There's not such a thing as digital retailing, but there is such a thing as your digital showroom. And so again, I don't know if it resonates with you guys, and Jeff, and you're running a store every single day, but when I was still running in the retail car business, it's been a hot minute now, but I know that if I had a customer that showed up in the showroom, like, look, man, selling cars is hard. It's a complicated process. There's the trade-in, there is the customer's creditworthiness, it's getting them through finance, it's getting them approved, it's all these variables, right? A lot of times there's negative equity. But if a consumer is standing there physically in our showrooms, we'll spend 4 hours if we need to do everything we can to sell that customer a car. Mm-hmm. We don't let them go. Like, we will dig in and roll our sleeves up and make it happen. But if a customer shows up as an opportunity through one of these digital retailing solutions and it comes in and they're raising their hand on the digital showroom, I've got a customer that's standing in the middle of the digital showroom saying, here's my trade, here's the payment I want to be at, here's the vehicle or vehicles I'm interested in, et cetera, et cetera. No one treats that with the same level of urgency or sincerity.
Well,
yeah, definitely not.
Do they know, one, that they have somebody standing on the digital lot? And I don't think that the dealers have all that kind of transparency into what customers are interacting with those tools and some of the tools that are available to them. And then two, do they have a way to take action with it?
Right.
So it's, there are solutions out there that do allow it, but there aren't many.
Yeah. There aren't many. I mean, again, I can share with you guys what we're doing, because I mean, it's Jessica's team that's done this amazing job of building these types of tools. But there's this nuance that we have released actually in this year. We did it through the end of Q4, and it's really kind of come to fruition. I hate when people do demos on these things, but will you guys afford, like, can I share the screen and show this to you? I don't want to come across as like, look at our tool and buy this from us. Like, who cares about that? Right?
I think it answers
As long
Alex's
as it's
question.
better than Vroom's.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jessica, go ahead.
Vroom tools is a phone call. That's
no, I'm gonna do the Vroom demo. I'll do the Vroom demo first. Here's the talk track list that you need to
Yeah.
Right. All right. That was it. That's the Vroom demo. Thank you very much.
While Darren cues that up, I will just say, as I'm trying to buy time here, that I did Mr. Vroom, because we just did a webinar on Dealer Inspire side, just how dealers can go and play offense.
Yeah.
To the point that is Vroom's going to do this. They're doing it during the Super Bowl. It's going to create this like spike in search. So really, it's like a $5.6 million gift, because that's how much they paid for that 30 seconds of airtime. And we could see that after the fact through Google Trends that there was a huge spike in search. And so we kind of prepped our clients to like have campaigns ready to go for local in-market shoppers who were searching with Vroom related terms after they saw that commercial, and actually saw some really good results from those campaigns. But it's just, what it comes down to is that I remember, of course I remember it was me. Like, I started selling cars in 2008. My first straight selling job was they made me the internet manager, right? And what the hell that meant? Well, it meant that there was a small but growing number of people who just wanted to email the dealership from our website or fill out a form on our website. And enough people were doing that where the dealership felt like we needed somebody specifically just to handle these leads that were coming in, right? And so that's what I got to do, is I got to handle those leads from soup to nuts, sell them a car, and earn my nickname No Gross Stump, because that's what I do. And really, this is to me is just the modernization of that. It's something that we've done in dealerships before. We saw consumer behavior shift to people wanting to communicate in a way they're more comfortable. So we adopted our processes over time. And I think what we're talking about here, and I know Darren's talked about this a lot, is like that digital showroom manager, if you will, that is able to do even more than just answer a lead and set an appointment and then work it in the showroom. Did I give you enough time, Darren?
Well, no, I'm fine. So here's what I would do. I don't want to demo anything. Instead, I'm going to ask Kirshner a question. So, Jeff, do you like to play poker?
Say again.
Do you play poker?
No.
Okay, Schneider, do you play poker? Have you ever played poker?
I'm really bad at it.
I don't.
So,
I hate card
I play
games.
for very little money.
It's not going to work for Jeff. That's fine. He's clean cut and he's just like, playing slots or something. That's perfectly fine. But if you could, like Alex, if you could see all the other players' hands while you're playing, how much money would you make?
A lot more than I usually do.
Correct, right? You'd know if somebody is bluffing, you'd know exactly what they've got in their hand, and you're sitting there playing your cards, right? So with that in mind, I don't want to talk about digital retailing. I want to talk about how a dealer can make more money. So this is what Jessica and the team has come up with. I'll just show you. So this view here, gang, is the back end of our tool. And so rather than showing you like how a customer got here, like this is the view of the dealer's digital showroom. These are the customers that are standing in real time on the lot, right? And you can even see how long ago they had an activity. So if I jump into like one of these ones that, I created, here's what's different for us. A lead coming out of the website and or the DR tool does not, it doesn't just, a singular lead doesn't just flow into a CRM where it hits that age-old follow-up process on a singular car. But here is the view of that customer's entire garage. And it's not just one car, it's all the cars that they have in the garage. And it's, the finance, lease, and cash options that the dealer can play around with. And so there's a lot of digital cues that are in here. If you're sitting here, look at this going, okay, great. Like this is a good deal here, but this Darren Haygood guy, like his credit's terrible. So I'm going to fold that hand and I'm going to go over here to this car because I can make more money over here. And I'm going to play around with this one. And if I'm looking at it and the customer's got three of the, let's say I had 3 passports in here. then I know I've got a consumer that's actually interested in buying a Passport. But if I've got 3 different vehicles and all the monthly payments are about the same, I can read into this and go, okay, this is maybe somebody who's going to shop a monthly payment. And I may want to add like a different vehicle that I know I can make more money on and push that into the consumer's garage. So it literally is the ability. You asked the question, Alex, you know, does a dealer know that they've got something in the showroom, and how can they engage with them? I can sit in here, if I went back around to this pilot and, you know, I update the term, or let's say I want to take the money down and go, okay, nice try there, but we're going to need just a little bit more money from you in your down payment. Once I make that change, it's going to update the monthly payment over here. I can then share that with the garage. And now if I jump back across into the customer's view, it is going to update in real time the changes that were made on that actual deal. And I even got a little alert that showed me that, right? So, and I can take it a step further, and I can say, if let's say that, like, let's live in the real world here. Let's say that, Alex, I'm not in the middle of my garage live on the website. It's probably what's going to happen most of the time. I can actually, I can share that via text, and I can say, hey, Darren, caught up with me here. Sorry. You can see that there's this magic link that good. But I can say, hey, Darren, check out your updated garage. The payment got better, right? And I can hit send. Now, what I'm going to get in real time, I'm sitting here like I'm just sitting here live with you guys, is I'm actually going to get a text that's got that link right to my garage. And if I click into it, now it just takes me and redirects me into the actual demo site with the garage that'll log me right in, so that I'm seeing exactly the changes that were just made. I hit allow, and there you go. Now I'm in the garage. And now that dealer is in real time dealing with Darren Haygood that is in the digital showroom.
And I think one thing that you're pointing out here is that there's such a control thing that goes on with this shopping online and this retailing and all of that. So as a shopper, I think I have all of the control, or I want all of the control, and I need to have some type of perceived control. And then also as like the dealer, you guys need, this is your job, you know what kind of car. So like the adding a vehicle thing, like now you're, and then when two people who want control meet in the middle, it's collaboration. And that's what Darren was able to show. So like if you're able to kind of do that back and forth, no matter where they are, they're not going to stay on their website forever. They're going to bounce somewhere else. So like sending them that text is great, because then they can answer it whenever they feel like, not when you're calling them 3 times a day on day 4 specifically.
And one last little piece about that, and like that's why we think that in the way to engage there is important, because greater than 80% of the consumers that actually create a garage on the Dealer Inspire online shopper platform, Alex, the thing that they pick out as the preferred mechanism to engage with them is text.
Yeah.
You can tell it at the beginning. Text me. Like, you guys know this. We did an A/B test on the UX, and we used to have it say phone or mobile. And when we changed it to the word text, we saw this huge skyrocket of people actually giving us valid phone numbers. So it says in the psyche, the consumer doesn't want you to call them, but they're perfectly cool if you text them. Right? Yeah. So like that tool, and what Jessica created is the ability to engage with somebody who's standing right there in your digital showroom in the way that they want you to talk to them. They don't want some glossy 4-paragraph email from the GM saying, have you considered new versus used? Have you seen our latest offer? All that BS that is from forever ago. So
there are definitely tools out there to help combat the Vrooms and Carvanas. And Dealer Inspire definitely has one there.
Well, it's just
there's a flood of comments that are coming through as well. I don't want to get too sidetracked from how do we combat Vroom and Carvana. But there's definitely some things there that I'm sure the Dealer Inspire crew can come back and answer.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to add on. We've got a client down in a Toyota client, who is like the dream client because they use all of our technology and they just did a really wonderful testimonial for us. But they essentially have 80% of their business is running through online shopper. And the secret to their success when you talk to the marketing manager is that they have dedicated people to handle the digital showroom, right? So evolving again, that age-old internet manager position into the digital showroom manager, sales managers who can work the deals, who are empowered to do so. And just to help that segment of people, they have their showroom process still. They didn't change everything. They still have the regular people who help the people who show up on the up bus or who call or do whatever. But they also have this team that's dedicated to handling who come in from the digital showroom. To me, it's not like the grocery store down the street, Kroger, right? It's where I do my shopping. They've got the regular cashiers and their clerks and the people who bag groceries and the people who stock and all that stuff. But they have an even bigger team inside that has the vests and the carts, that's doing all the people like me sometimes who's just like, I want to shop from my phone today, right? And then either get it curbside or have it delivered. So 2 separate teams working together to accomplish the same goal of growing that business forward.
Well, it was just put in the notes in one of the chat comments that was there, and I think this is an important point. Even we see this as a challenge, right? When we install the online shopper tool with our clients, the folks that will show up to that training are the internet managers and the BDC folks. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I was just recently, I finally got to travel again. I just did a 20 group thing in Kansas City. It was fantastic. We took up like this whole ballroom with everybody sitting at desks 10 feet apart from each other, but it was super great conversation. But the thing I ask all of these, 20 of these counterpart owners and GMs is, how many of you entrust your internet manager with penciling a deal? And one hand went up out of 20.
Wow.
And I thought that was interesting, right? Because somebody said the internet manager used to be the techie guy at the dealership. And I think we as an industry need to understand that you have a choice. You either need to put a sales manager or a GSM in charge of receiving and understanding that digital showroom dashboard I was just showing you guys, whether it's our tool or somebody else's, I don't care. But get someone in charge of the digital showroom, or let's, as an industry, empower and train and educate the internet manager to be perhaps one of the most effective and influential people in the entire dealership.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you took a survey and you found out which dealerships were most successful, it's going to be the dealerships that are set up where the sales manager or the GM is tightly integrated into their, their digital workings. I mean, every single time. I know Matt Hagen's a great example, with the Volvo dealership, right, Alex?
Yep, Prestige Volvo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this, he's the GM, and he's the one that's really, I guess, pioneering everything at the dealership from the digital side. So
he uses it before he rolls it out to his staff, which is interesting.
Great.
That's great, because you got buy-in from the top saying, look, I know this tool works. This is what I do to help the customers and the referrals that come through me as the owner or the GM of the store. And so now we're going to make sure that this is the tool that everybody uses. Like, this is how we sell cars. And I think that's also important. I don't want to be ignorant or selfish in saying to any of our dealer partners, you've suddenly got to change the way you sell cars. I don't think that works at all. That's another failing of digital retailing. Companies coming in saying, we're going to do a 3-day immersion training. And now you've got a complete, we're going to have turnover, and you're going to have to do that again every 3 days.
Exactly.
Right. So instead, you have got software that will help complement the process that you have, because not all customers are created equal. We just talked about that. There may be less than 20% that want to do the whole thing and have you bring the car to their house. But you've got other people that are like, I just want to get answers, transparent answers to questions. And then I want to come in and I want that experience in the store, the information and the connective tissue of that experience to be the same as what I did in my house. And please get me out of there as fast as possible.
So there's a little, I'm going to make a long tie back to something we were talking about at the beginning. And I feel like some of this all comes together in some way, shape, or form, including the comment that Dan Sayer was talking about with, if you've got an internet department and a sales floor, then you're doing it wrong. But so one of the things that Vroom is doing is Darren, to your point, you said they're not advertising a payment, they're not advertising a price, they're advertising an experience, whereas the dealers are advertising a payment or a price, and so is the tier 2 marketing agency, and absolutely the manufacturer is. And I was listening to a conversation earlier today where somebody was trying to get the $439 a month BMW X3 that BMW is advertising nationally. And they go to all these different BMW websites, and the cheapest they can find it is $700 a month with the same down payment BMW's saying. Yep. And so all this advertising is going on out there, and when the consumer comes to the dealer, they're finding out that it's a different scenario. It's the same old traditional bait and switch car guy kind of thing that they think. It might not be the technical truth, but that's the impression. So, one of the other problems that's going on is, the deals that a desk manager is putting together are highly structured. They're making sure that the wrong incentives are not stacked together. They're making sure that the equity in the trade, if it's a lease, is applied in the right spot that gives the customer the biggest advantage on the payment. These are individuals who know how to put a deal together and where to put the money to make it right. And a lot of the tools that are on the internet are not set up to be able to do that.
Right.
So you get a lot of products out there, especially if they use, throw this out there, I think AIS as an incentive source. It's not a very good API at being able to tell you, oh, don't stack this with that. So if you've just got a developer who goes out and says, okay, show all the lease incentives. Well, next thing you know, you've got a couple of different $1,000 rebates being applied that the customer doesn't qualify for. And anyway, so there's a lot of issues out there as to why, some of this happens, and maybe why the Vroom and Carvana kind of advertising is appealing to the consumer, because it doesn't come across as that here's a $439 BMW that you can get for $700 a month when you actually try to buy it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, what we also need to understand is the Carvanas and the Rooms of the world are at this point not trying to sell new cars. And so all these examples.
That's the point I wanted to get to. Yeah.
Right. They're only selling used, and there aren't complexities of qualifying incentives and conflicting rebates on used. And, so you can come through on the premise of a one price model, which a lot of franchise dealers have pretty nicely on used. But the complexities and the ingrained desire to advertise the lowest possible advertised price on new cars is, again, the drug addiction that we've got to break in our industry, because that $439 payment you can't get to. It's this bifurcated customer that doesn't exist. That's an owner loyalty conquest, college grad, military veteran, right? Who's that? I can't be a conquest and an owner loyalty at the exact same time, but the domestics do that all the time, where they stack all these rebates to try to get to the lowest possible price. So, I don't know that we're going to ever fix that piece of it, because people are trying to be competitive in the marketplace and take advantage of the consumer's lack of understanding of how our industry works. And they're just thinking, get me the opportunity and I'll unwind the confusion and tell them that $439 is not a real thing, and I'll stuff them back into $700 a month. And then therein lies the disconnect that we have. But I think, again, not trying to fix that problem. At least there's still a bigger problem. That, let's say I do try to go, Alex, online and configure something on an X3, and I configure a payment that's $700 a month. I send that lead in and or try to show up at the dealership armed with that information that I got from your tools online. And almost 100% of the time when I show up at the store, somebody is going to start at a different number, or not be aware
or start from the beginning. That's the horrible part.
Start from the very, very beginning and go, thanks so much for doing all that homework. The beginning of the line is over here. This is where we need you to go. We have a whole mousetrap you got to walk through. I appreciate you're trying to cut, but you can't cut in the line here. We don't do that for consumers.
Well, my favorite happened when we were shopping for my wife's car 2 years ago. And we walked into the store after having worked out a number of things online via email. And we got upped, and the salesperson said, "Oh, that's the internet department. We do things differently here in the showroom."
Oh.
That's what I love. Oh, that's a different business over there. Don't fall for that.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's ridiculous.
Well, it
Well,
happens. It's
No, it happens a lot.
and
Yeah.
managers at the stores have no idea this is going on. The manager at that particular store was very happy that I was pissed off enough to walk in and tell him.
Mm-hmm.
How many customers is Johnny blowing out with that stuff?
Right.
So
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, but there is also some very simple, like I love getting into these discussions with you guys because I always feel like I want to help because it's so process driven. It doesn't matter the technology you use, but hopefully, again, there's just some simple, cute things we've been talking about for a while, but everybody could do tomorrow. So if you have created content and some sort of software tool on your website that advertise, because a lot of dealers have done this with COVID. They're like, we can deliver contactless delivery and an expedited buying experience and right? They've created pages and content workflow on their sites about this. And when you walk into the dealership or when you come in on an appointment, or if you call them, there is no guidance on where the expedited experience starts and where I go, right? There's just that beginning of the line that everybody has to get into. So I always make, again, when we used to travel all the time, I make the comparisons across to the hotel industry. If I walk into any SPG or Marriott property, there is signage on the desk that says Bonvoy Elite. Start over, there's a separate line. They've spent $35 on a sign to put on a desk at every front desk at the hotel to say, you go over here, VIP customer. Why can't we do that in the car business? We do it in service. We say, here's the express lane for like oil changes and everything else. Like we give big signage things to consumers to say, go here for this experience. So I've been, and they do this at that Toyota store in Texas that we're happy to share as a follow-up, but they've created overt cues when you walk in the front door that here is where the online shopper customers go. And the amazing thing is how many people go there that actually didn't use the tool online first. Because they're like, oh, there's like a faster, different, better way to get in this line.
They think there's a better deal.
Right?
Yeah.
So I know you're not supposed to get these type of advice from, a guy at a digital company, but spend $150 on a little red carpet, some rope, and a sign, and watch what happens.
No, it's good advice.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to...
Dan thinks so.
Yeah, you're going to spend 50.
Dan Sayer thinks it's a good idea.
Dan's got the same haircut as me, so he and I are like brothers.
I was going to say just real quick, don't underestimate experience. That's all. I think that's what it comes down to. Sometimes maybe, I know I was guilty of it back in the day, is to overthink these things, but just providing that experience, providing that way, making sure that it's not a disconnected experience, because obviously that's the one way just to ruin it, to say you have this thing. And then as Darren was saying, when people show up, you don't have that, then that's no good. But if you just put some thought into that experience, I think you can get a lot more mileage out of that than anything else.
Yeah.
It's and by the way, don't do this. So when you go to roll the red carpet out, make sure it's rolled out for the right people. I also had another experience. It was amazing when I became a consumer or a civilian, I think is the better word to call it, and wasn't a car dealer anymore. But my world changed a lot. But there is a dealer here in Vermont who had Audi and Volkswagen in the same service department, and they literally had a red carpet rolled out for the Audi customers, and the Volkswagen customers was basically a trail of mud. And the service rider for Audi was dressed nicely. It wasn't the Cintas uniform. The Volkswagen guy was in the Cintas uniform that was badly pressed, and it was literally like side by side. The Volkswagen customers just felt like they were being shat on.
Well, make
the Audi
it
customers were just
to build off of what Darren was talking about. Like, make it 2 red carpets where it's like, I know what I'm looking for, or please help me. Like, I know what I want. I don't know what I want, or whatever. And then, because Darren and I say this all the time when we're talking to dealers that, like, when we're doing our trainings and things, like, shoppers they're going to do all of their stuff that they personally want to do. And it's 9 o'clock at night, they're on their phone, they're building their garage, they're doing whatever, they're researching all of this stuff. Right. And by the time the dealer knows that they're ready to take the next step, they need to know all of that stuff that they did and meet them where the shopper left off. So often in digital retailing, so often the shopper thinks that they're at the finish line and the dealer treats them like they're at the starting point. And then they just start all over and the customer experience completely goes downhill. And then it's, now they're in the mud. And they
That's
feel
a great
little
line, Jessica.
Yeah, that's, and what I'm advocating for here, gang, is that, I know, listen, if I was running a dealership again tomorrow, if I was in your chair, Jeff, in all meetings, we would say we strive to give every consumer the best experience that's going to come into our dealership for sales or service. But from building experiences that are familiar for consumers is an easy thing for us to do in this industry. And that's why my idea with regards to the hotel piece of it, that's familiar for people. And so it's not like you're trying to create a different experience, but you could give the same experience to everybody. But the consumer understands that if there is a VIP lane or an owner loyalty lane, I'd like to go through that. So please tell me what I need to do that instead of this other thing. And then after that point, the experience could be, to Jessica's point, could be exactly the same for both parties. But just watch what happens when you create overt signage and lanes like that at your dealership. Again, go to service. The express lane for the oil changes in these service drives, like Honda dealers across the country have probably done a better job of that of almost anybody. Do you know how many full additional upgrade service ROs get created out of the service lane, of the express lane? It's not like they do nothing but oil changes there. So it's just
a shit ton.
Right. And that's because you just created the perception that it's easier and faster to go this way.
Yeah, you're right. So when you're talking to dealerships, how do you get the GMs or the sales managers? Do you guys have any secret sauce to sort of help get the buy-in for them to use these digital tools to recognize that digital customer sitting in their digital showroom?
Yeah, that's the work we're doing. I think, again, where you see a change for us as a company, certainly other vendor partners in the space, as I've been talking with them, is that when you do implementation and setup and process training, we're saying to the e-commerce director and the marketing director or the internet manager that shows up, we're not going to go through this training today with just you. We full stop.
Yeah.
And we say,
good.
What, we're going to help make you more effective and impactful at the dealership. We're going to reschedule until you can bring your GM or your boss onto the call as well. Because it's that.
That's good.
Yeah, a lot of that is reinforcing that customer, ensuring that we're training you in the way that is the best experience for the customer. Because I can't stress that enough, that when you get these retailing leads and it's not, they've done so much, and respect the fact that they did so much, and then treat them that way, that they are an informed shopper. And so we do make sure that we have more of the sales managers around for that, because we need that type of insight and buy-in on the whole process. Well, their existing process, I should say.
Do you have any dealerships that are integrating your software onto the showroom floor as well to sort of keep everything seamless? Because I think that's where the big win is. You can get the dealership, of course, get the GM, the sales managers all on board, but if you can integrate that software on an iPad or whatever, and include that, inject that into the showroom process, again, that's where we're seeing the biggest success.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We have dealers who are using tablets, and even because they can build a garage, they can start saving vehicles, right? So you can do that on a lot of websites. Then they're able to kind of stand back, allow the shoppers to whatever they're going to do, or they even tell the shoppers hey, you can go on the lot, start building out your garage, and then when you're done, come back in here, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So it's, again, it's my big thing is it's a control thing. And if somebody thinks they have control, then they're going to go a little bit farther in the process, and it goes both ways, because if you can't give the shopper the type of control that they want and the dealer at the same time, then that's where you run into, hey, here's this software, and now here's all the training that we have to do on it. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it never works out too well.
No.
And I'll just add in, this is what we're seeing in those stores that have adopted this. This is not going to be shocking for anybody on this call, but when those two things line up and you start taking everybody through that showroom experience, Jeff, the gross goes up. The PVR on all these deals goes up because you're just doing the very simple, basic thing. We've talked about this for a long time, but when the consumer has greater trust that you're being more transparent, they become less adversarial with regards to the numbers that you are serving them. You know, we've done that for referrals in this business a long time. When you and I get friends that want to come buy a car from you, because it's a referral from me and you're dealing with them directly, when you tell them what their trade-in is worth, they don't go, oh, you're full of crap. I researched 6 places and my trade-in's worth. They go, hey, Jeff, I'd like to get like a couple $100 more. Is that fair? And you're like, okay, that's cool, Darren. That's fine. And we just
that's why I don't sell to friends and family. I don't.
Well, I know.
That's what phones are.
But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
too. I mean, especially if you're delivering on a digital device. I mean, there's been studies out there that show that the consumer believes that over anything else.
That's my point.
Yeah. Right, because it's a familiar experience. I mean, this is my favorite thing to do. It's like, do you guys have fancy phones? Like
we have fancier phones. They're called iPhones.
Yeah.
Right,
because we only use Clubhouse.
Yeah, I've got an iPhone too. Anyway, so this experience of phone shopping, right? Who here has a $1,200 phone?
No way.
Yeah, I do. If you guys got the new iPhones, you do. And we're doing this online. We're doing this, like in my case, I have AT&T. Once a year, I'm on AT&T's website, going through, shopping my phone, see what my payoff is, and then adding the new phone to my cart. Maybe I'll get an iPhone next time. Who knows? And then I can see how much it is. It's like only $30 a month with 24 monthly payments. And that's only $5 more a month than I was paying for my last phone. And I do this every year. I have no reason to have a $1,200 phone.
And
but because it's so goddamn easy to do
now.
Yeah,
I do it. It's like this year, iPhone 8, my Clubhouse phone.
Yeah.
You can get these for a couple $100.
You just every year though, you keep creeping up $5 more.
The point is, it's a very familiar experience.
Yeah. And
people are buying phones more often than they're buying cars. So to have that same kind of experience, yes, Drew, every year I get a new phone because I deserve it, man. Providing that familiar experience that they're used to. It's just, it just goes back into the thing. You make it easy, you build confidence, you build trust, people will close themselves.
Speaking of that, Jason, I want to send an apology out to the people trying to listen to us on Clubhouse. We might be doing this wrong. We just decided right before we went live to throw Clubhouse up and stick it next to a speaker. So
seems legit.
But we did it.
How do you Clubhouse? We did it wrong.
Yeah. Apparently, once you find Clubhouse, you have hair and no beard, and after you find it, you lose all your hair and grow a big white beard. Darren, you can talk more about that.
Whatever free time and extra sleep you were getting, that's all going to go away once you jump in the Clubhouse. But what's great about these types of things is I'm hopeful, especially in context of like how poorly attended NADA was this year. Not that
what was the feedback on that? I hadn't heard anything.
Well, that's because I think 14 people went. But
hold on now. Hold on. So I will say, because I presented it in ADA, and so I'm not going to let you say there's only 14 people there.
Well, actually, we're all in your session, Jason. All of them piled in.
The digital workshops are actually like more attended. I mean, I'm not trying to brag here, but there's like 475 people in my workshop. If I was doing it live, there would have been 40 or 50 people there. So that side of it is really valuable from like the education and the building your audience and getting to talk to people, that kind of stuff. But to Darren's point, yes, obviously virtual attendance was down, but a lot of value in those digital workshops.
Maybe a poor analogy, but where I was going is that a mechanism like Clubhouse provides us a forum where you can have live type of engagement that we would only get when we hold these conferences, 4, 5, 6 times a year. You can do that almost any single day and jump into an actual conversation. So I'm an advocate of like what's going on there in that space. And I think that talking about things like what we're doing here today, You can shrug and go, Vroom is kind of nonsensical, and Carvana, yeah, they got an advertising message, and you can just go keep your hat on, head down, and just keep doing the same stuff you've been doing for years at the dealership. Or you could go, okay, there is a way that we can kind of pivot and go on offense and do things a little bit differently. And that's what we're just advocating, because there are dealers in each market that have decided, like that guy at Prestige, there's an owner there, there's a GM there that's decided, I'm gonna lead from the front. I'm going to be an advocate that's actually using the tool before anybody else in the store uses the tool. And it's going to be the process that's ingrained all the way through. And it has virtually nothing to do with the technology. It has to do with the people and process. And those are going to be the entrepreneurs in the local retail markets that win.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yep. That's a good way to end it, Darren. Good end cap.
Beautiful.
Yep. So
beautiful.
When Vroom starts parking cars in the Starbucks next to your store,
just do a quick search on Facebook
Friday.
Marketplace.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then definitely go check out. There's a video on Dealer Inspire's website from Joe Chura, and you'll get his emotional response to what he saw at the Super Bowl, and if that doesn't get you a little fired up.
Yeah, and then if Alex, Jeff, if I might, just some quick self-promotion. If you're going to go to the Dealer Inspire website anyway, we actually did a whole webinar with this campaign that we called Play Offense Against Vroom, and it's how you can continue to play offense forever, not just up until the Super Bowl spot, because that is an ongoing campaign, and that is where it's available to stream on demand. You'll see the three of us again in there, and that's really all the actionable tips, tricks, and how-tos, like things that you can put into your marketing mix to combat those messages. So I highly recommend you check it out.
Beautiful.
I'll be sure to check it out.
Yeah, next week on Refresh Friday, we'll have the CEO of Vroom on, and we'll be talking about
That is awesome.
Wait, really? You're gonna
Topic
Did
is
you?
going to be
you.
topic is going to be how to transition from an online retailer to a franchise store. Like, it's really going to be
All right. Well,
Boys,
thank
as
you, everyone.
always,
Darren.
you do work. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
These
good
old
seeing you,
jackets in
Darren.
the mail.
Jason,
Thank you guys.
good
Great
seeing
to be
you,
back,
Jessica.
hanging out with you guys. Appreciate that.
Always.
Have a good
Later.
weekend.
Till next week.